Loneliness is the worst feeling in the world. The feeling of not belonging and not being wanted is something I wouldn't want anyone to feel, not even my enemies. Being lonely is a poison that affects your mood, the way you act, and how you see the world. In the anime Spice Wolf, the two main characters, Craft Lawrence and Holo, are lonely people. They find companionship with each other and form a close bond during the time they spend together in their travels. This video isn't about the anime or light novels, but rather the loneliness and companionship between Lawrence and Holo. Here's a very quick summary of what Spice Wolf is all about for those who don't know. It's a story about a merchant named Craft Lawrence who encounters Holo, a wolf spirit slash goddess who lives in the wheat. Holo decides she wants to leave the village she's bound to, and wants to travel back to her ancestor home of Yoitz. Lawrence agrees to take her back there, and the two of them bond over economics, apples, and cryptocurrencies. With that out of the way, let's get to the main topic. Lawrence is a merchant who traveled alone for the longest time. His companion was his horse. He is a very social person and can be fairly charming. However, he sees people mostly as potential business partners. He keeps it professional with them. There's no personal connections to people he knows that isn't business oriented. He isn't socially inept by any means, he's just very business minded. When you first meet him, he's traveling alone and tries to spark conversation with his horse, who obviously can't talk to him. He enters the village of Haslo, a wheat village in the middle of harvesting season. The people are friendly to him. They have conducted business with him many times in the past, even praising him for helping their village prosper through their dealings. However, he's still an outsider to them. They don't offer him a place to stay and rest. Lawrence even acknowledged this as he sets up camp outside of the village. This is also where we first meet Holo, who was sleeping in the back of Lawrence's cart the entire time when he first entered the village. The first episode starts with a narration from her. She talks about her role and the relationship she has with the village. Holo tells us that in the beginning, the village of Hasla had nothing and was an empty field. Then, one day, a promise was made between the village and Holo. She promised them that the village will have bountiful harvests. She also said that there will be bad harvests in order to let the soil rest. As agricultural techniques advanced over time, the village starts to neglect Holo. Seeing her as a goddess who didn't live up to her promise of giving them consistent harvest every year, Holo felt like she was no longer wanted and needed anymore. While it is not established what Holo got in return from the villagers, they do make a wolf effigy as part of their end of harvest celebration, even having someone play out the role of Holo in their festivities. A neighboring town also calls the villagers pagans that don't worship the one true god. What is clear is the villagers feel like they don't need Holo anymore. When they talk about her, it's usually mocking her. The wolf effigy could just end up being like a Christmas tree, something that has pagan origins, but just forgotten over time, or a tradition that is readapted to fit a new narrative. Holo, seeing that she's no longer wanted and felt she has already lived up to her promise, asks Lawrence to take her home to Yoitz, a land of short summers and long winters. When Lawrence asks why him, Holo tells him she's a good judge of character and knows he will take her there. And she was right. Lawrence does agree to take her with him, and they both travel north together, with Lawrence making business deals and getting into trouble along the way. The both of them get to know each other during their journey together. Lawrence has a dream of one day opening his own shop. He has been traveling and making money for about 7 years in order to make his dream come true. Once he opens that shop, he would finally have a sense of belonging, saying that he would be a member of a community that would have an easier time making close friends and even finding a wife. Let's pause here for a second. Lawrence is actually quite the ladies' man. He has an admirer in the first episode of the anime. A village girl named Chloe is very friendly with Lawrence and is clearly very interested in him. Lawrence was her mentor at one point and taught her what she knows to help the village grow its economy. Chloe serves as their price negotiator, helping the village make business deals to help it prosper. During their interactions together, Chloe drops a lot of hints of her interest in him, even saying how she has matured into a woman, but Lawrence just doesn't notice. While everything she says is always in the guise of a business deal to Lawrence, Chloe, in my opinion, wants to be more than just business partners with him. It's clear that Lawrence doesn't see her as a romantic interest, and doesn't show any interest in her outside of a business partner. Both Lawrence and Chloe's path cross again after Lawrence and his business connections uncover a currency collection scheme. The scheme would help Chloe and her village make a massive amount of money and get favorable treatment from the nearby kingdom. To be fair, Lawrence was also involved in a similar scheme with his business partners, but they weren't so mafioso about it. Chloe gives Lawrence a choice: turn Holo into a church to be taken care of, This will essentially end Holo's life and the village's connection to her. She'll also let Lawrence in on her scheme. This would give him more than enough money to open that shop he wanted, and he would have Chloe by his side as his long-term business partner. Lawrence rejects this with little hesitation. He says he has already entered a contract with Holo to take her home and he plans on honoring it. He's a man of his words. Chloe cold-heartedly tells her thugs to kill Lawrence and to capture Holo. This effectively ends the relationship between Lawrence and Chloe. You see the difference between how Lawrence and Chloe conduct business. Lawrence might bend the truth a little and use underhanded tactics to get an advantage over someone, but he would never use violence to achieve his wealth. But most importantly, Lawrence is loyal to people he does business with, and he's also loyal to Holo. And with the second season of the anime, you see how loyal Holo is to Lawrence, but let's resume where we left off initially. Lawrence wants to open a shop so he can be part of a community so he doesn't have to be alone. Holo, on the other hand, wants to go back to her home in Yoitz so she can reconnect with her community and with beings like herself. She sees the writing on the wall with how the villagers were beginning to neglect her, and will eventually forget all about her. It's never stated why Holo doesn't appear more frequently to the villagers, most likely having to do with the neighboring town's view on pagan beliefs, or have a more direct line of communication with her. What is clear is, Holo does not owe the villagers anything. She has done more than enough for them, but with how they treat her, you can't blame her for wanting to leave for snowier pastures. In the second season of Spice and Wolf, their trust in each other is put to the test. A young man with the most Italian-sounding name shows romantic interest in Holo. He wants to win her off of Lawrence in a game of stock market manipulation. During this season, Holo learns that her village of Yoitz was destroyed by a giant bear many decades ago, and believes Lawrence had known this the whole time, but didn't tell her. She believes he had her as his companion as some kind of cruel joke. This put a lot of strain on their relationship. Holo's trust in Lawrence is shaken, and looked very likely she was going to leave him. However, Lawrence still wanted Holo by his side, and was doing everything he could to win that bet against the Italian crypto bro. When it was time to see who ultimately won the bet, Holo came in clutch for Lawrence, secretly helping him the entire time. She was always on Lawrence's side and had absolutely no intention of wanting to go with the Italian boy. This moment helped solidify their bond together, and it's ultimately what leads to the final decision Lawrence makes in the end of the series. In the final arc of the series, Lawrence's dream of owning his own shop was within his reach. A lot happens in this arc, but without going into a lengthy summary, I'll just highlight the main points. Lawrence and Holo enters a town that's on edge due to an economic downswing, and the situation is volatile because the fur traders weren't allowed to trade. They meet a fellow traveling merchant, Eve, and a man named Regio, a local politician. After some finessing, Lawrence learns from Regio the government is rumored to have made a decision on the fur trade restrictions. This could potentially lead to large profits and help Lawrence achieve his dream of opening his shop. Eve approaches Lawrence with a business proposition. Sell Holo to slavers and use the money to buy furs. Eve tells them that there was going to be a trade war coming, and they could easily make a whole lot of money from this. Holo agrees to help and is used as collateral, seeing this was ultimately to help Lawrence achieve his dream. Lawrence received a massive amount of money in exchange. However, learning about Eve's motivation in this deal, Lawrence gets bad vibes and backs out at the last minute. Eve attacks him and takes most of his money. She leaves him with a deed to an abandoned property. She left it as a compensation of sorts. In an episode before this, Holo senses that both of them are going to have to separate soon. Holo tells Lawrence that she will eventually outlive him. She is an immortal, and Lawrence's entire lifespan is essentially a blink of an eye to her. She has outlived many people that came into her life, and believes that Lawrence will just be like them, a blink of an eye. Lawrence could have left Holo and fulfilled his dreams. His future was literally in his hands, but he couldn't continue without Holo. Instead of cashing in on the property deed, he used it to buy Holo's freedom back. If you stop and think about it for a moment, Holo was never in any danger. She's an immortal, and she could have easily escaped from the company. She wanted Lawrence to be happy and achieve his dreams, and she was willing to sacrifice herself for it. Lawrence put his love for Holo first before his dream. He put his heart first before his potential profits he could have made if he had opened a shop. He wanted Holo. He wanted her to be by his side, and the series ends with them getting ready to go on their next journey together, hand in hand. Throughout the series, you can see how much Lawrence and Holo flirt with each other, how they help each other, and how much they care for each other. You can't help but feel warm and fuzzy when they finally confess their feelings for each other. I guess you could say your investment in a series really pays off in the end. I know it's cliche to say money can't buy you happiness, and there's some things money can't buy, but there is truth to that. Money can make your life comfortable and make living easier, but you can't buy a genuine human connection. And even if you can, it would be hollow and not something that was formed because of a genuine love or affection for each other. Spice and Wolf has taught me that the connections people make are priceless, and it is something that people should not take for granted. Loneliness can only be filled in with other people, and loneliness affects the rich and the poor. While there are connections you can make with people that go bad, it is still worth the effort to make them. Cherish the people that are close to you. They're the real treasures in your life, and make the poorest person feel rich. I was inspired to make this video after the trailer dropped for the reboot of Spice and Wolf a few months ago as of posting this video. Spice and Wolf is one of my favorite animes of all time, and I think the story holds up really well. I hope this new reboot will inspire others to really love each other, especially during these really scary times we're living in. There's an interview with the author of Spice and Wolf, Isuna Hasekura, done by the anime YouTuber The Animated Man a few years ago. That's absolutely excellent and worth checking out. Also, you can read another one of his works, World End Economica, a visual novel that's available on Steam. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, drop a comment below, and let me know what you liked and didn't like about it. I'm always open to criticism. That's how I grow. I hope to earn your subscription, and please do subscribe to this channel. Thanks, and hope to see you in the next one.